I had a hobby too. Mine happened to be guns and ballistics, and I studied guns and ballistics as much as I could, and I wrote an article about high velocity.
So out of all my years working at Weatherby, the last 5 have been some of the most exciting. Working with Adam, with him running the company.
And to think that I get the opportunity of carrying on my grandfather's legacy 75 years later here in Sheridan, Wyoming, I mean, it really is a dream come true.
Oh, I'm home. Thank God I'm home.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
Well, welcome back to On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast. We're here to talk about something pretty exciting. I'm actually super excited about this thing. We got Tyler in here. Hey, Tyler.
Howdy.
And we got JD, a.k.a. Mr. Peak 44. Is that what they call you?
They call me lots of things. Most of them you can't say on here, but that's true.
So tell us about this new tripod. We're pretty excited about it.
I'm very excited about it. We all use them, but we felt like there was not the right solution on the market. So there's a lot of good ones, but it seems like most of them are kind of missing something. And we were hoping it would kind of be like the Swiss Army knife where you multi things in one kit. So the detachable legs was a big thing. Got to use it last year, packing out an elk and a couple deer. And
back up. The detachable legs. We're going to need a rundown.
I'm slightly more familiar with it than most folks. So
pretend that I don't know anything about that thing.
That's fair.
I feel like you should even back up from the start of the project. I mean, when you think about tripods, they're either too heavy or need to be heavy, need to be light. Things that we've done well in the past is, we started with our carbon fiber, stocks, right? So we do things that are good within carbon fiber and lightweight solutions,
well,
right?
Yeah, since Weatherby has moved to Wyoming, I think that there's been a tendency towards lightweight products because it's something we're all passionate about. Mm-hmm. It's how most of us all hunt, which is go far, go light, go hard.
Yeah.
And you need really good lightweight equipment to do that, and I think that's where this thing was born.
Yeah, and without sounding arrogant within the Peak 44 brand, it's we feel like we make things and we develop things, right? And we can develop certain things better, right? So we wanted to kind of do our take on a tripod.
Yeah. So now, JD.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry, JD. I wanted to give a little backstory. It's not just a tripod.
Tell us about what makes this Peak 44 Teton tripod different, better, more awesome, and cooler than other tripods.
Cooler, definitely. Where to start? The weight, if you've used tripods, whether shooting, glassing, whatever your purpose is, you've probably used a super heavy one and a super light one, but not one that was kind of both. And this one weighs under 3 pounds, but it goes all the way down to 5.5 inches, so you could shoot from a prone position if you wanted. I'm 5'9", so I can use it at a standing height. If you're 6'1"-ish or above, you might have to tilt a little.
I'm 6'2". I could shoot off of it, but I'm pretty bendy.
The other part too is if you're using binos or a spotter. If you're using an angled spotter, obviously that helps with the eyepiece coming up to you, gives you a little more height. But being able to use it, prone, seated, standing, that was kind of the goal for most people. Obviously there's going to be some people in there that it would be slightly short for, but we're looking at it. So the people that are just listening, that's kind of tough. But if you're watching, we're looking at the tripod, and it has a removable center post too. So this extends, or you can remove it and put the short one in, so that if you wanted to deploy the legs and have them as wide as they'll go, you can shoot. From...
Oh, so the center post would not be sticking out past the bottom of where the legs would be extended to.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's very simple. We should do a video on that, but I sent it to some folks the other day because they asked, hey, how's this thing work? Mine showed up. But the legs also removed 2 of the legs that have handles on them. They're like a rubber grip. So you can just unspin those and use them as your trekking poles. So like last year, a buddy of mine shot a bull. We were packing it out, and I didn't bring trekking poles. I was kind of hoping to put this thing to use, and just took those off, and for the pack out had trekking poles, so that's kind of handy.
That's very handy.
Though the post also tilts, so it's a pan head, but that's another important feature that whether you're shooting, super steep up or downhill, or you have on a hillside where you just are uneven, you have two legs deployed and one short one.
The ground's never flat where I hunt.
Seems like it. Even when we're antelope hunting, it's like there's still something there.
Yeah. So it makes it a lot easier to get level.
Yeah. Does have a level too.
And it does seem that there's always two different camps when it comes to tripods. You're either a fluid head, pan head guy, or a ball head tripod guy. Well, this one gives you a fluid head, but gives you a little bit of that flexibility that a ball head does have when it's on uneven ground with that center post moving.
I think it's the best of both worlds, yeah. Because I'm a fluid head guy because I want to be able to have like really nice, tight fluid movement and have that little bit of resistance from the fluid head when I'm moving around. Because honestly, I'm not going to shoot off of a tripod a ton. I'm trying to get prone as much as I can, but man, for running a camera, a spotter, fluid head is where it's at.
Sometimes too, up in Alaska, grass is tall, sagebrush is tall. There's times when you can't get that low.
There are times you need to get high.
It might not be obviously as stable as prone, but if the option is shoot offhand or off of this, obviously this is going to be a far better solution. The stuff you mentioned too, not all of us are just, if you're using a camera, you're more concerned about the fluidness of the pan head than you are trying to save weight, or there's different applications for it, whether you're shooting a gun, a camera, just glassing using binos or a spotter. So the dual tensioner on the handle versus the head, most people I think have experienced where they glass up an animal and they're on it, but then they let their hand go and the image completely moves. The binos or the spotter fall off.
Yeah. So
that's what's nice is that you have the handle where you can acquire your image, tighten that down, and also use the dual friction knob so that you can really lock it down if you have a big spotter or a camera that you're trying to keep that image in.
There's so many different use cases for tripods. There's so many things. I've come at it from photography, videography, spotting scope. Again, it's a last resort for me to put my rifle on there because I want to get low and as stable as possible. So it can be challenging to build a standing position behind a tripod, no matter how solid it is. But from a photographer standpoint, Kobe, we did the podcast, however many episodes ago, about camera equipment and our setups. I love this thing for running a camera, having the detachable legs so you don't need to carry trekking poles is super awesome because there's a little job description, other duties as assigned. So if you're on a hunting trip, filming hunting, the other duties usually comes into play after the thing is dead, and you get to do other duties, which means you're packing out a dead thing.
Yeah.
So having those trekking poles is nice so you can as little weight as possible. That handle to adjust the fluid head, having one. I've had tripods where you can really only go one direction, like your tilt up and down is controlled by the handle, but not your side to side. That would be a separate knob. Having all of the resistance on the one handle is so nice. Mm-hmm. So nice.
That center post comes into play too, what you were just describing, because that slanted hill that we seem to always be on when you're glassing, just being able to get perfectly level, whether you're trying to do that with a camera or to shoot, it just seems like you're always in an awkward enough position to be able to, you're always going to be a little bit slanted, but with that neck, you can get to level. It's just a lot faster. This knob here, you can adjust that. So there was a lot of thought that went into it, and everybody seems to be real happy with it so far.
One of the things that I've used the trekking pole for multiple times is a pro tip, Tyler, just for you.
Just for me?
The thread on that handle is a standard 3/8 thread, and on the camera that I usually run, I have a small rig cage, and it has on top a 3/8 female thread, and you can thread the trekking pole into the camera, and use it like a little, almost like a
Monopod, right?
yeah, like a monopod or like a gimbal pole too. Like I'll put it on the top sometimes, and as I'm walking, I'll put the camera on like right at somebody's feet, and you, like in slow mo, and you get some really cool like.
I was gonna say you could also
shots that way.
Kobe's tall enough, and he calls it the drone shot, but you could get the drone shot too by threading it in there. That's sweet.
It's really versatile, so it's got a lot of options. How much is it?
$369.99.
So, what do you get for that?
It comes with obviously the tripod. The head is included. Not all tripods come with a head. Which,
most don't.
Which is a thing. Yeah.
Most don't weigh their tripods with their head on it. I don't understand when they're like, oh, it's ultra light. And it's like, oh, well, it also has a pound head that you have to add to it. And that's like, what?
I'm really light, too, if you don't weigh all my body parts.
You just take out my midsection.
The photo videography ones, that's the other hard part. Or somebody who wants like a super light tripod, but then they're like, I really need a good head. Then they get ahead and they're like, well, now this tripod isn't what I wanted it to be. It's not light anymore.
Yeah.
But it comes with the carrying case, the small post, and then the wrenches and tools. You know, if you need to take that out, you don't need the tools to remove the center post and to replace that, but it would be to tighten any of the legs.
Yeah.
And it comes with a plate, too.
Oh, yeah, the Arca plate. Some of them, I guess, don't include them, but most on the market should come with at least one Arca plate, which is compatible with.
It's just standard Arca, right? So, yeah. So, I used one of these in the Yukon last fall, filming Adam's fan and sheep hunt, and I'll just talk a little bit about my camera setup because it's like really heavy. I've got this 95 millimeter Swaro with the TLS APO, which is to a Canon EF, and I'm running a Canon R5, which is an RF, so camera dorks will probably get this, but so there's an additional adapter behind the TLS APO that's a EF to RF converter that then is my camera body with a cage and usually a mic on it, so I'm probably all in on that. Haven't actually weighed it. I bet it's over 10 pounds.
Yeah, I was going to guess like 11 and a half.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that
really
Swaro
common
itself is 9 pounds, right?
Yeah.
8 pounds?
It's not light.
I forgot about that. The 22 pounds is what the weight limit is. So we wanted to be able to, if you're going to shoot off of it, that still should fit within most gun weights. But super heavy spotter setups, that's one thing that I dealt with in the past life working in optics. People would buy, super expensive tripod, but the head might have like a 6 pound weight limit. And so it might not fail the first time, but the worst thing ever is when you're on a backpack trip and your spotter sitting there and then all of a sudden it just slowly starts to lose that tension and it's gone. And you can't, you can fix it when you get home, but the rest of the trip you're kind of almost without a spotter.
I went through, when I was looking for like really good backcountry filming tripods, I bet I went through 6 different tripods. I'd get on Amazon, look up lightweight tripod, you get served some, and I got some were better than others, and this one by far is the best. Plus it comes with the head. I have absolutely loved the fluid head on this. It is just super smooth. There's no play. I got a couple on Amazon I thought were going to be like the golden bullet, like super light and smooth, but they would have play in them. Like when they're locked, they would rock a little. You don't want that when you're running a camera.
That's the hard, especially with maybe more with the camera, but even when you're trying to run your phone scope, it's like you get it kind of centered, and then or like when you're hunting with a buddy and you like, oh, there it is, and then you go to let it go, and then it just like moves just that fraction, and now it's out of the picture. Right?
Or if you get accustomed to like accommodating for that, where you're like, okay, there's the bull, and you like put it above them because you know it's going to drop, and it's like it's never centered, and
it's important to make sure your plate is mounted near the center of gravity, and sometimes it's just not on the spotting scopes. And if you're going to do that same 95 millimeter with the TLS APO with a camera body on the back, you need I forget what it's called.
The rail, right?
It's like an extended rail that basically bridges up to the closer to the front of the scope, because there's so much weight in the back. You got to balance it, and if you get it decently balanced, it works pretty good. Yeah. Anyway, I love that setup. it was very stable, unless it was crazy windy, because that thing's like almost 3 feet long altogether.
The spotter,
it's kind of almost have a sail going. I thought it was super solid, and I was thoroughly pleased with it. And then being able to take the legs off and have multiple uses, pretty awesome.
Yeah, for being a smaller diameter on the legs, it handles that wind vibration pretty solid when you have something on there.
Being at the range too, I always, if I'm by myself, I want to, digiscope so that I can, look at my shots and that kind of stuff. And out here at the Sportsman Association, putting it on the table next to me instead of having it deployed, so that the legs are as short as they'll go, but it's up taller, so they'll stay stiff, so you're not getting that wind vibration. I feel like we just tried over the last year or so to put it through all the bases that we would, all the applications we're going to use it in, and get feedback from not just our group, but
the only issue I've had with it was I think I lost a foot, but that was my fault. I was using it as trekking poles, and I didn't check, and sometimes you put like a little twist action on there, so you can also put some Loctite in there. So
I Loctited mine.
Yeah, that's definitely a pro tip. If you're someone who doesn't
on any tripod,
adjust that.
That's
not unique to this one
with removable feet.
The way that I deploy, you can, with the 3-leg extensions, you just happen to grab that foot, and so when I turn it, you're also turning that.
There's
foot
a chance
sometimes.
that's what I did too, but yeah.
But I Loctite mine right away. But if you're going to swap out feet for like the spiked ones or whatever, I just never end up doing that. I like the rubber because
the rubber are great. Well, I like it because they're quiet no matter what.
Yeah. I see guys put those spike ones on like the hood of their truck.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, that's you really gotta want what you're shooting at to do that.
The twist lock grips on these are really nice too. Like you can like do with all 3 of them with one twist, and then you can quickly deploy.
Once you get
fun.
the hang of the grabbing all of them and deploy and then tighten, it's really fast. Same with I feel like it's also the other way. Once you spot a critter and you're like wanting to get over there, and it's usually a yard sale of all your stuff on the mountainside. You're like, we got to get everything back in the backpacks and go. Being able to quickly, throw it on your bag and get going.
Yeah, I've been in love with this thing. It's to me the best lightweight tripod out there. Love it.
I'm an optics nerd, and I just enjoy.
You're an optics? No way.
Hadn't noticed.
I just love glassing. So to me, it's kind of like a passion thing that no matter what kind of hunt we're on, I like to spend as much time looking as I can.
What's that new little Swaro?
The ATC.
If you pair the little ATC with this thing, like that's got to be like the ultimate backcountry spotter setup.
Yeah, that's what I'm running, and man, I love it. That thing is. Most people see it and they're like, "Is that enough magnification?" Because it's so small.
Because I've really enjoyed the 95 millimeter Swaro. Like you can.
Your application is.
It's different.
Yeah, totally different.
It's different, but it's impressive.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's look what those little guys got.
I had the 95. I've had all the versions, but the little guy, for what I do, it's more than enough.
I feel like it's so clear that it makes it feel like you're getting more out of that optic,
it's like
right?
It's in 3D. It's weird.
Yeah.
No, it really, it's so cool. I don't know. I'm a gear junkie. I think probably most people that even listen to this podcast are probably going to be gear junkies to some point. But when you like look through glass that's that good, you're just like, this is amazing.
The Swirl guys during trade show season, when we launched this thing, they came over and they were like, "Thank you for putting an appropriately sized spotting scope on the tripod," because they're used to like either a 95 on some tiny thing that it shouldn't go on, or vice versa. So I love that.
I think you can run a 95 on this all day long.
No, you totally can.
Yeah, if you check out the Instagram, we got lots of pictures with that 95 on there.
We were actually joking about it. Like, there's some pictures of Tyler.
Yeah.
We were making a joke about the massive spotter, and the next thing was Tyler with the 95.
A giant spotter. Yeah.
But again, the weight, that was like part of what we thought everything through as far as the weight limit's important, that you need something that if somebody's got a 95 and a big camera setup, they can do it. If they're trying to go as light as possible. Back to the ball head thing, I've used a lot of pan heads that were so big, the handle, that even once you tried to run them along the legs, like when you're putting it on your backpack, it's still this massive blob. It's not just the weight, it's the volume that it's taken up. And this one you can fit, between the leg sections, and it's basically like having a ball head, as far as size-wise.
Yeah, and the handle is, I like to have a handle in mine. So I'm glad we included one because I like to do the reverse way when I'm glassing.
With
I like to
binos,
have
yeah.
bino
Do it
on
backwards.
and then have the handle out front.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm a panhand or fluid head guy for when it comes to the glassing because I like to be able to grid. I like to go able to
that's
go
how I
back
do
and
it, too.
forth.
Yeah.
And with a ball head, you kind of sometimes when you do have a ball head in your glass and you're going, and then all of a sudden, and you're like, man, I got to start my grid all over.
I was using that tripod with that Swaro 95 without the camera body on Adam's elk hunt last year. I think we talked about it in that podcast where we just saw a huge herd of elk go down this hillside and then just never appeared. And that was during that was a solar eclipse. Same deal. It was this like last October. And just decided I'm going to just set this up as a grid. And I just went like max magnification, just like real slow, just like up and down, go left a little, up and down, left a little, and just like worked the grid. And then I saw like a belly. I was like, wait, what is that? And then just start going a little bit around where that belly was. I was like, there's a head. Like, and they're just, you barely can see it picking it out of the hillside. And Adam ended up shooting the biggest bull he ever killed in his life.
When you grid, this is a question. Do you always go up and down? Are you up like? How do you do your snake? Do you go?
I start. Let's call it upper left, and then I go down and come right a little. Go up, go right a little, go down, right a little.
It's interesting. I do like I guess the reading method where I'll go from left to right, and then I will go down and then go back right to left. But that's how I do it.
Same. I'm like you're reading a book. So top left to the
Over.
right, starting a new sentence, typically. But
Oh,
I was
you
just
start a
thinking
new sentence. You don't just
No.
down and then back.
Nope, not down and back. Down, new sentence, so that you're getting that whole thing. But I was just thinking about that. Like, it's not always the same because, like, if you're glassing a whole basin, and
That's true. It depends. Like if it's
Yeah.
a really, let's call it a vertical piece. If it's portrait, like your phone, I'm gonna go probably up and down. But if it's more of a landscape, like
Yeah.
if you're looking for antelope, I'm probably gonna go horizontally.
yeah,
Do you have like any other kind of good like glassing strategies? Or you like hit the obvious spots first?
people that are not watching can't see it, but glassing with binos is the biggest thing. I feel like everybody immediately goes to the spotter, but depending on it, if you have good optics,
I had already tried the binos in this previous example. I didn't turn anything up with binos.
But then good example of you gridded everything, and that's the other back to like how you do it is like the kind of quick scan, because I don't know how many times you've
sometimes
gotten
it's
somewhere,
just obvious. You
yeah,
can
and
see
you're
with
like,
binos.
oh, right
Well,
there.
look,
So you kind of eliminate those first. You look with your eyes, don't see anything. Pull up binos, quick scan, but then binos on tripod. Binos on tripod is just a lot better if you're going to be glassing for a long time. Bears is a good example. We're coming up on that. It's not fun to sit there and look through a spotter all day. So
gives me a headache one-eyed for too long.
the other thing with that is to
thought about
digiscope.
bringing a pirate patch before.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, people that are spending that much time glassing do it, but the other one is just digiscoping. So having your phone on there so that you can just look at the phone instead of through the spotter. But I think the biggest thing is most people don't use their binos enough. They're trying to, we all think we're steady, but you don't realize until you put them on a tripod and use it the way that you should and do
they're
that
way
grid.
more clear if they're
If you and letting go, that's another thing. So you put your binos on there, let go, because we all are impatient and you just start gridding without even realizing it. But put binos on there, let go, grid that entire area that you can see, that whole field of view, and then you're covering the rest of it. So
because that's when you're going to pick up that movement. If you're just constantly like moving real slow, you're not going to see that flick of the ear or like that animal go right, like move between a tree, right?
Yep.
So when you stop, everything else is still. It's almost like, what do they say? Sometimes you look through the trees too. Like the way you focus your binos is you're not, sometimes you have to I mentally have to be like, okay, what am I actually focusing on that hillside and not making sure I'm just not looking at a hillside, right?
Your description where it was like you saw the belly or the re-shifting in their bed or an ear flick or whatever.
You're just looking for an off color on the hillside or something, yeah.
That's the good optic days, just the when you have good optics, like the brown of an elk versus brown of the hillside, with good stuff, they're going to pop, and you'll see that belly line, where if you don't, it's going to blend together, and it'll just look like a log or whatever.
For spring bear, what kind of binos are you going to be carrying? Are you at 10 by 42, 10 by 50s, or what do you got? A couple different
Typically
setups?
10 by 42. I'm pretty ruined on the range finding bino thing. I think we've talked about that quite a bit. Not just rifle hunting, but even archery hunting, that most rangefinders are going to have a good computer, meaning that the laser will give you an accurate range, but you're going from two 40 millimeter, 42 millimeter objectives to one like 26 millimeter objective and a fixed 6 power usually, or maybe 7, versus a 10 power binocular. Long range stuff, it's just easier to get an exact range. You can hit a small deer.
I can't isolate my trigger finger for the
You're doing too many things too.
finder.
You're messing with a camera and then trying to get a gun set up.
Range finding binos, if you're hunting past 300 yards, is the way to go.
But I give that example too. Archery hunting's where it really ruined me, was that you're trying to get like an antler tip, like a buck bedded in the sage. And if you're sneaking up with a monocular, you might range that mule deer like 15 yards too far or 10 yards too close with a bow, where the opposite of the long range stuff, when you're shooting, it's like, well, I ranged that hillside. Yeah, I hit it, but I don't know if it's 800 yards or 750.
Yeah, good tips. Tyler, why is there a gun on the table?
Because they're really cool now. So the gun on the table I'm looking at looks like a custom Model 307 with a Peak 44 stock on it, and we might be giving that thing away.
Can we do that?
We can do that.
The internet doesn't like when we do that, but we're
Yeah.
gonna, how
should
could
do that.
somebody be entered to win that?
If
thing?
someone happened to be on our website, there is a landing page. You may or may not see it in the description.
Didn't send you there, but if you just happen
There's
to be
a
there.
landing page, and all you have to do is enter your email. But this thing's pretty cool. It's a kind of give you the rundown. It's a Peak 44 Bastion stock with a new Model 307 action from Weatherby.
Nice.
Got a Trigger Tech trigger. Our friends from Hawkins sent us some nice bottom metal for it.
That is some really nice looking bottom metal. Actually, the way that the Hawkins magazine fits, it's like the nicest.
Yeah, it looks really good. And then we have a Peak 44 J rail. And then the optic that's topping it is a VX6 from Leupold. So JD actually shot this and sighted it in, so it's going to be pretty darn close on that, too.
Solid. What's it chambered in? What?
280 Ackley improved.
Nice.
Shot hammer's really good.
Yeah. And
Not that that's
what
ever
doesn't?
uncommon.
Big surprise.
and not only that, just for the spirit of bear season, Stone Glacier chipped in a rifle cover, or an optics cover, and then a rifle sling and a pack. So pretty much everything you need to get going this spring. For
What
bear
about
season.
a vest, like a rifle vest? Do they sell that?
Yeah, they're actually they do sell a rifle vest hoodie thing.
That was our April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
Hope everybody enjoyed that. So, JD, thank you for joining us. If somebody wants to find out more about that tripod, where can they get more information?
Peak44.com every time.
How do you spell it?
PEAKFORTYFOUR.com.
You passed. Good job.
Yeah, I was following.
I have to do it all the time. Not number 44. Sends you to
Sometimes I
some
like
weird
to
thing.
put a U in 40. I know it's wrong every
pretty
time I
common.
do it,
Yep.
but it's just habit because of
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
English is weird.
Spelling's hard.
Thanks for listening.
And tripod also, you can win that as well.
It's part of
it
the
comes
giveaway.
with?
It comes with the whole
Oh,
thing.
man, you didn't say
Man,
that.
I know. I keep there's so many cool things in this giveaway. So
It's awesome. I hope you win.
I hope
Whoever's
I win too.
listening.
Oh, you. Yeah, I hope I win too. No, just kidding.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Oh, I'm home. Thank God